All right, hey everyone. Mark here. Hold on a second. Sorry, it's taken me a little bit of time to get this thing going. Um, People want me to stream on TradingView, but it's hard to do that. So I spend all this time trying to get this thing going on here, and it costs me a lot of time. So again, I apologize for that. Hold on one second here. I have to fix something here again. All right, hold on. Just give me a second. Again, it's giving me a hard time. Hold on. I thought I had this set up and it says nope. Okay. Just trying to get my screen here. Hold on a second. This is why I'd rather what do you call it? I'd rather alternate TradingView or maybe do it like once a month until I can get this thing fixed properly, because it's just it's very hard for me to get this thing going. All right, just give me 1 second here. I should have this thing up in a moment. Okay, start stream. Okay, I guess I'm streaming. I don't know what's going on with TradingView here. It doesn't say I'm streaming. All right, so I'm just going to, hold on a second. Okay, I guess I'm streaming. All right, cool. All right, hey everyone, thanks for joining me. Let me get this thing going. Sorry about the takes me forever to do this. All right, so let's just get this thing started and we'll go from here. This is for educational purposes only. For investment advice, please consult a licensed investment advisor. You should see my screen. All right, and again, so people, if you're watching this on TradingView, please share your questions in the stream in the chat area now. So when I get to them, once I complete my portion of the analysis, I can get to your questions. Also, I see YouTube, you guys know what to do. So I have plenty of questions in there. Thank you again for your patience. Also, real quick, okay, hold on. No, you're not going to see my screen. Hold on. Now you see it. Okay. Also, if you are new to the stream, if you want to share what country or what city you're from, that's always a cool thing. It's fun to do. And again, I will get to everyone's questions. Please, for your symbols, if you'd like to see a stock or an altcoin, for the altcoins, make sure you put USD or USDT after the coin so I don't get the symbol wrong and I don't spend a lot of time on the wrong symbol. All right, so let's get this thing going. Today's Monday. First thing I like to do is go over the economic calendar. Now, there's really not much to say about the economic calendar this week. You can use the one on TradingView. And I like to go over, in case you're in any type of Forex pair, this is scheduled economic reports, okay? So just starting with tomorrow, we have China interest rate decision. That might have an effect on things, but usually the main things you're looking for are FOMC, NFP, or any type of testimony from Fed Chairman Powell, anything like that. On the 20th, we have for the pound consumer price index. We have for the Canadian dollar consumer price index. Again, those are not big deals. Also on the 20th, European Council meeting, not usually a big deal. Australia retail sales, Governor Lowe's speech, not big market movers. That's on the 21st. On the 22nd, for Germany, market PMI. On the 22nd, we have Europe market PMI and Great Britain market services. And then on the 22nd, Canada retail sales. These are not major reports, so I would not really expect much from scheduled news this week, okay? Which is important. Now, what you should be watching out for, though, or there could be political news, political events, anything like that can move markets. Again, that's not scheduled. Also, company reports, right? If a company is going to report their earnings or whatever, you should be aware, especially if you're in the stock. So you have to do your homework on that. It's very easy to find that information. But Google it, find out when the reports, because those reports are going to be coming out over the next few weeks, and that could set the tone. That, especially if it's a big company, like Microsoft or something like that, it can have an effect on the entire market. So just something to keep an eye on, especially if they, if it's better than expected news or not as good as expected. That kind of stuff can move the whole Nasdaq or S&P. All right, so that's it on the economic calendar. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Now, I had a very interesting question about Bitcoin earlier in the other chat. I just want to address that here because I'm going to be talking about it anyway. And the question was, is it wise to be flexible and adjust? Because since Bitcoin's not pulling back, should you just, basically look for a continuation pattern and just buy into it because it just never pulls back and it's just going to keep going higher, right? Is that wise or what? Like, how would I answer a question like that? Well, here's the thing. If it doesn't fit my criteria, oh, okay, hold on. I'm getting no sound over here. If it doesn't fit my criteria, let me see if I can fix that real quick. That's what I mean about this thing. All right, so let's see. Okay, this thing is saying no sound. Oh, turn this on. All right, I should have sound now. How about that? You guys in TradingView should hear me. See, what a pain. Anyway, okay, I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to keep going. You guys should have sound now on TradingView. All right, now, thanks for mentioning that. So, again, with Bitcoin, the thing is this. Should you adjust? If it doesn't fit my criteria, meaning we're not at a support level and the reward risk is not adequate, I don't adjust. I'm not going to sit there and bend my rules for this. Now, keep in mind, if I wasn't willing to take risk at 50K, right, the 50K area, I wasn't willing to, I missed the move off of 40K. If I wasn't willing to take risk in those areas, I'm certainly not going to be taking risk now. These prices are good prices to distribute risk or to reduce risk, not put on new risk. Now, is there something to be said for being flexible and taking more aggressive signals? Yes. But here's the thing. More aggressive in this situation is basically going to be day trade, right? Because as a day trader, you have more control over your risk. You don't have to take the full magnitude of risk. But if you're new at this, you should not day trade. You will lose your money as a day trader. Okay, because it requires too much adjustment, and if you don't have a good sense of context, all you're going to do is get caught and you're going to lose. So that's not really a viable option or a realistic option for newer traders. So the only other choice you have in a situation like this, really, because again, why not take a swing trade? Why not take one of these continuation patterns and see where it goes? Well, you have to ask yourself a question too. Are you in this to make money or are you in this to protect capital? Of course, everyone's going to say, I'm in this to make money. Right, but protecting capital is actually a higher priority because there's so much working against us in this game. Okay, and people don't want to understand that. There's so much working against us that if you're in this game to make money, you're in the wrong game. You should probably find an easier way to make money because this is a very hard way to make money. So it's better to have the mindset of, I need to protect capital, okay? And as a result of that, when high quality opportunities come along and you've been protecting your capital, now you have the money to take that risk, right? So the question is this a sensible place to take risk on the swing trade time frame? And my answer is no way. You're at this box up here and you see on my chart, that is the 60K resistance area. I'm not buying a resistance area. The other thing you have to understand is when we share signals, we're sharing with a large population or a larger population of mostly newer traders. So if I put out an aggressive trade, right, now I have to monitor this thing all day. Now I have to send out an adjustment, and people are not going to take those adjustments most likely. They're going to get caught, right? And I don't want people losing money on aggressive trades. It's very easy to lose money on aggressive trades. And you can say, oh, but you could have bought here, you could have bought here, you could have bought here. Right, but at some point this thing is going to turn. All right, and that's the reason why I won't send out any aggressive trades like that, is because I know what's going to happen. You may make money this one time, or maybe it'll go green for you a little bit, and then when it turns, you're not going to know what to do. Okay, and you're probably either going to get stopped out or whatever. So that's going to really have to be on you. That's why I choose not to do that. It requires too much It's too much maintenance, right? It's better off to wait and do nothing because it's easier that way and there's no risk involved. So what if the market's moving away? It will pull back to a support at one point. I know that for sure. I don't know what support, but it will pull back to a support. And at that point, I'll be prepared. And right now that support is around that 50K area. It's hard to believe that it'll pull back, to that point or whatever, but it either does that or I do nothing as far as a swing trader goes. That's the mentality. Now, if you have a problem with that, if that's hard to understand or comprehend because, you want to make money, well, here's the thing. You can be an investor, okay? And when you're an investor, you can invest at any price. Chart doesn't really mean much when you're an investor because you're long-term. So you take your small bites at any price and every price. And now a situation like this up in here, as an investor, I would certainly be locking something in. All right. If I was long from 40K or if I was long from 30K and I've been in it this long and blah, blah, blah as an investor because I'm in this for the long term kind of idea, these are prices to reduce risk. How much? Well, it depends on how much you want to take. Keep in mind, as an investor, you're also going to be stuck in those very broad pullbacks. So if this thing has a move off of here and for some reason over the next few months pulls back to 30K, you have to sit through that as well, right? That's part of being an investor. But what protects you in that situation are not stop loss orders, it's your size. So you have to understand sizing. It's a much easier game than day trading or swing trading. So I'll leave you with that. Now, another thing I want to mention about Bitcoin is this ETF situation, right? Because again, everyone's grasping for the obvious. I saw billboards in my local area, billboards that say, buy Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, man, if that's not a contrarian sign, I don't know what is. When they're reaching out to the person that's not even involved in this game and trying to lure them in, that's a sign of a top, typically. So that's especially something I'm not interested. When I see something like that, I'm really not interested in getting involved. Okay, so that's one thing you have to keep in mind here. You have to think like a contrarian. The crowd is usually wrong. So you're better off going on, playing that game, right? So you don't have to do anything, and I'd rather just wait it out here. Okay, at some point the market will pull back. Now, someone asks in here, has Bitcoin broken out of wave 4? Not yet. Okay, wave 4 is 64K. All right, the top of wave 3 or whatever this is here is 64K. We haven't broken that yet. So even if we do break that, right, that just like, let's say it goes to 64,500. Is that a breakout? Not really. Because the chance of a fake out is still very high. That's a highly resistant area. And price can go slightly higher. Maybe it goes to 65K or maybe a little bit more than that. But the chance of a fake out, let's look at this on a weekly chart. You got to be nuts to be buying it up here. Okay? That's just my opinion. You have to be nuts. There's no support here. This is all resistance. And now you want to buy it because it looks like a sure thing? No way. So I'd rather wait for a better price. Right now, that better price is 50K. So it's very simple. Waiting doesn't cost anything. So sure, I miss out, but who cares? I'm still not risking anything. And the market could run to 80K without me. I don't care because I don't lose anything, right? I protect my capital. And eventually, the market may give me an opportunity. Now, let me just point something out in terms of time when it comes to patience. The Bitcoin move off of the 30K low, right, which was back in July. That move was good for what? Maybe a month, about 2 months worth of data right there before it had any type of real corrective move. 2 months of having these little tight higher lows and blah, 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 okay? When it finally has a corrective move after about 2 months, that corrective move was maybe good for about 2 weeks, right? Maybe a little bit more, maybe 3 weeks, okay? Now here we are in this new move. And this sustained movement, which is basically it's a leg, it's its own self-contained structure. This has been in play now, for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that, right? From the beginning of October to where we are now. So, we're most likely nearer the top of the leg and more likely closer to a corrective move, right? And just in terms of that, if you want to look at that cyclical time. So again, just another reason you got to be nuts buying it here. And the other thing too, I want to mention, you know, like that ETF thing, everyone thinks that, you know, oh, well, logic. If the ETF comes out, it means there's going to be more demand for Bitcoin and all the institutions have to buy in and all that other nonsense. They said the same thing back in 2018 when they first came out with the futures contract. Oh, the institutions have to get in. So Bitcoin's going to go to 100K. Right. Bitcoin went to 3K after, not right after, but the year after those futures, Bitcoin eventually went to 3K. So what does that tell you about logic, right? Forget logic. Anyway, all right, so that's my Bitcoin rant. If you have any questions, let me know. But the summary is waiting for 50K pullback, right? I want to see 50K. I want to see reversal there. I want to see a clear-cut higher low. I'll be interested. I could measure my risk at that point, and the probability of the location will be much more attractive. It'll be an old resistance, new support. That's what I want to see. If the market won't show it to me, then I have nothing to do. Okay, NSX. Here's the Nasdaq. Look at this. So I was talking about this in my previous streams, the higher low. I talked about this. If you watch the streams, you'll see it. Now this thing is just out of control. We're at 15,289 in just a matter of a few days here, right? Tough for the shorts, right? I warned people about this with the shorts. I said, watch out for that higher low. This could be the bottom of the holiday rally. We are in that period of year right now, okay? Going into November, we are in that mode. So this right here, this structure says it all. Don't be short. This is not a short. So this is a resistance here. I mean, I'm not going to be buying stocks at this moment, but now is the time to be looking for a supportive environment in stocks. I mean, I've said that back at the higher low, but any pullback in the Nasdaq will most likely give you a buying opportunity in highly correlated stocks. Someone just asked me about AMD. We're going to take a look at it, but that would be a highly correlated stock, okay? So that's the Nasdaq. The S&P is in the same situation. Look at that. What a good looking chart, right? But again, this is going to suck people in. They're going to think, oh, the market's good now, right? It looks safe. This looks like a good spot. The market's strong, right? But markets they typically can't sustain these vertical moves. So you wait for a support. This is not a support, that's a resistance. I don't care how good it looks at the resistance, it's still a resistance. Why is that so important? Because you cannot see the sell orders that are sitting there. You can't see them, but they're there. That's why it's a resistance. So if we pull back to a support, something like this, all right, maybe it won't give me an ideal pullback, but I want to see something like that. And I would be much more interested in some type of buying opportunity, whether it's a stock that follows the S&P closely, or maybe it's the CFD of the S&P, whatever it is. But that's what you want to look at, which is a similar situation for Bitcoin. All right, let's talk about gold real quick, and I'm going to get to your questions. Again, I appreciate everyone's patience. Now, gold the other day, right, I guess there was some news or something, right, whatever it was, gold had this buy signal, right, and we didn't get involved in this. There's a lot of structure that supports it. You have the higher low, blah, 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 this and that. But as you know, I don't buy highs, right? I don't care. And this is what happens a lot of times when you buy a high. This is what happens. Now, it's at a more attractive area again, potential support. Now, gold is something you have to understand about gold on this time frame. It's not in a trend, right? It's in a consolidation. And Bitcoin can still do something like this. Although it looks less likely now, it can still happen. I mean, just a couple of months ago, Bitcoin looked like it was in breakout mode and it was going to go to 2000 and blah, blah, blah. It never went there. So it's been consolidating again. What do you do in a consolidation? Well, you shouldn't treat a consolidation like a trend. So that means that even though there's a support over here, you're in the middle of the range, right? And in a consolidation, especially, the middle is a really bad place to be taking risk. So I want to see the range low. Will this thing go back to 1750? That's the range low. I don't know if it'll go there, right? I cannot predict where a market's going to go. That's what everyone wants, okay? But no one can predict where it's going to go. The question is, does it go there in the future? If it goes there, then I have a potential opportunity if it can confirm there. That's the way you have to look at this. People that come out and say, oh, I predict this, oh, I predict that, blah, 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 blah. They either don't know what they're talking about or they're just purposely fooling you because they know it's random. But most likely, they don't know what they're talking about, okay? So that's the area that I'm interested in. Can it get there? That's up to the market, all right? I have no idea. All I will know is we're at a support in a consolidation. And gold is generally bullish. Okay, it's not exactly bearish. There's really no bearish argument. But here's one concern I have about gold, right? And we take a look at the dollar. And this is why I'm not in a hurry to buy gold either. The dollar, this dollar chart is not a bearish trend. That's bullish. Higher lows, higher highs. Now, I know some people are going to argue and say, we got a failed high over here. This thing's bearish. No, this is just a failed high. It doesn't guarantee that we're going to start breaking support levels, okay? It doesn't guarantee that we will. If we do, then I will be more confident that gold will reverse, go higher, and sustain that new structure. But as long as the dollar maintains this, it's going to put pressure on gold. So I'm not in a hurry, right? That's why I'm very careful with gold, and I'm not going to jump to any kind of conclusion or opinion just because, there's no gold in Fort Knox kind of nonsense. Right? I'm not going to go with that. The dollar needs to show something here, and the dollar is not showing it yet. This is really just a hesitation, potential higher low in the dollar, which means anything that trades against the dollar, if this thing goes for the new high, you're going to see pressure, right, across certain things. So, look, HG1, copper. Let's just take a look at this real quick, because people have asked me about copper, and people arguing about, we should have bought copper. We should have bought copper. Right, yeah, right. It was easy. No, this wasn't easy. Copper, obviously, it's a political metal now because of infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. It's going to respond to political news. Look at this bearish pin bar on copper. Would you want to be long copper after, if you just bought this thing on the breakout? This is certainly not the candle I would want to see, especially off of a clearly defined resistance area, right? That's what you're buying into. The risk on this is very high. Why would you want to do that? Anyway, so that's just one thing. Let's take a look at the bonds real quick. ZN1, this is the 10-year note futures, because this is also like a long-term gauge of how the economy or the market can possibly go. This can give you a hint before other things, right? This bond chart, clearly I see lower highs. It's struggling at this low here. We've got a bullish pin bar, but that doesn't mean anything just yet. It hasn't changed the structure. It is at a support, okay? But the bigger picture, let's zoom out a bit here. This bigger picture is not exactly bullish, all right? So if it breaks this support, we have a broad lower high. If it makes that lower low, that is strength for the dollar, all right? And that's going to come from the Fed. And what they decide to do with interest rates, probably at their next meeting or something like that, that could set the tone for the bonds. And wherever the bonds go, you're going to see interest rates, right, obviously be affected. If this thing goes lower, that means higher yields. Higher yields means stronger dollar. Stronger dollar means pressure on gold and other things that trade against the dollar. So something to keep in mind. Can't lose sight of that. I can't take trades exactly on that information, but it helps to give me some broader context, okay? Anyway, all right, so that's my analysis. Let's move along here to your questions. Again, I appreciate everyone's questions. I am simulcasting on TradingView, so I'm going to try to get to as many questions as I can. Thank you all for the questions. All right, so let me jump over. Let's go. Let me just change my chart here back to Bitcoin. And again, thanks everyone for spending some time with me here. I really appreciate the participation. All right, so let's jump over to, let me start with TradingView here. Okay, hi, thank you for, okay, hey, no problem, Saeed. Hey, cool, Tulpin, good to see you. Okay, Electric Hope. Is there any chance you could analyze Pound Aussie? All right, let me see. We got a Forex pair. Pound Aussie. GBP, US, AUD. Now here's the thing, I'm not a big fan of cross pairs, as you know, but let's look at the structure and just see what it's telling us. So this is clearly a bullish structure, higher lows, higher highs. The more recent structure is corrective. We have a lower high over here, and now it's messing around at this potential lower low. But as you see, it's not a whole lot lower than this low, right? I would be bullish on this. I would be looking for longs. That's a failed low, and the broader structure is bullish. So this, I mean, even though today's candle is a bearish pin bar, not exactly in your favor, the thing is, this formation offers a decent reward risk and offers good bullish potential. If Bitcoin was looking something like this, I would be very interested in a long, okay? But this is not Bitcoin. So what is the low on this thing? $1.84, 184.15, right? That's where you're measuring risk from. The current price is 85.17, so you're looking at about 100 pips at this point. So again, these cross pairs can be very erratic, so you have to be careful with these things. And also the spreads are usually wider, but just judging the structure alone, this looks like a bullish setup. And your risk can be defined by about 100 pips, which is typical of like a pound or an Aussie cross, typical, especially anything that has to do with the pound. And your potential, right, is definitely more than 100 pips. I mean, what is this over here? 187 area? That would be one place for a profit target because that's the midpoint of the range. And chances are it can test that area, you know, compared to going back to the high very easily. And if you can justify your risk at that point, then you decide if you want to take that risk. But I definitely like the broader structure here, okay? Certainly not bearish, all right? So it's good for comparison purposes. All right, let's jump over to the other chat. Again, thank you again for all your questions. Okay, let us know what you think about the Bitcoin ETF is going to affect, okay, Crypto King coin price. So let me just see, is that something I can look up? Let's see, is that like a stock or something? Let me see, King, I'm not seeing anything show up on that. All right, so I would imagine that, how do you think BTF is going to affect cryptocurrencies? Honestly, I don't know what that is. So maybe you can elaborate more on what that is and maybe it'll give me a better idea. But the thing is, I'm not very excited about the Bitcoin ETF, you know, to be honest with you. I think it's too obvious. I think it's buy the rumor, sell the news, because I'm a contrarian. And it doesn't mean I'm going to short Bitcoin on it. Definitely not going to do that. I'm just going to do nothing, because doing nothing is also an action. It's also a choice that we have. All right, AMD, Elijah wants to know. So AMD is a market stock, highly correlated market stock. I've been talking about AMD for a couple of weeks now. I mentioned it. I didn't make any calls on it, but I mentioned it as a relatively strong stock. It broke out. I mean, if you're not in this, this is not a good price to be buying AMD. All right. Again, this was also a play on the Nasdaq, right? When that Nasdaq made the higher low, and I think that was around here somewhere. That was really, if you were going to take a chance on AMD and also bet that the Nasdaq was going to continue, that was when you had to do it. Okay. Otherwise, you had to try to buy this breakout. Your risk was going to be defined at $100 or whatever. That's the swing low. What do you do with this now? If you're in AMD, this is a great place to sell. If you're not in AMD, you have to leave it alone, because look where you're going, into this resistance area, right? High risk area. This game is about location and probability of location, not, oh, it looks strong, it's going to continue. It may continue for maybe another candle, but you're asking for trouble. I mean, look at this move here, right? That went for a good maybe 4 or 5 candles, maybe 6 candles, and then it went into this consolidation. So you're better off waiting for all that. Let everyone get banged out. All the people that are buying it now, they'll bang it out at some point, and you have to find a next support. So don't chase these things. It's a great company. It's a nice, strong chart for sure, but you don't want to chase them. Okay, that's from the swing trade perspective. If you're interested as an investor, you know, you want to take a small bite here. Just keep in mind, all you're doing is taking it off someone else's hands that bought it at a lower price, right? You're helping them reduce the risk. Why would you want to assume risk here? But when you're an investor, it's more about long term, and it's all about controlling your risk with size. So you don't really use the chart as a guide. It's more of your position sizing and sticking to some sort of allocation plan. Okay. Anyway, thanks for asking. Hey, Schenk from Vienna. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, Travel. Hey, good to see you. Okay, Elizabeth, can you look at ETH? Sure. Oh, Elizabeth, by the way, she put a question in the stream, my previous stream, which I misread. She said, Larry David impressions are welcome, because I usually do Seinfeld impressions, and I misread that, and I thought she said Seinfeld, right? I didn't realize she said Larry David. Now, I love Larry David. You know, if you don't know who he is, he's the genius behind Seinfeld. And he's had, his own shows, and I love his shows. So I'm going to do a quick Larry David impression if you want to hear it, but I can't promise you it's going to be good. But there was an old episode, okay, from way back when, and he was outside something, and he was whistling some kind of song that was offensive to this guy that happened to overhear him. So he yelled at Larry, of course, right? And he called Larry a name. And Larry says to him, Larry responds to the guy, he goes, I may hate myself, but it's not because I'm Jewish. All right, and that's my Larry David impression. It's sort of like a strained Seinfeld impression. Anyway, so that's it. I don't know if you know the episode that I'm talking about, but I love Larry David. All right, that's it. That's it for Larry David. So let's talk about ETH, which is much more important than Larry David. All right, so Ethereum. She wants to know about Ethereum. So now, Elizabeth, I remember we talked about Ethereum. We talked about 4K. Remember that? You asked about the 4K area. And look, how high did this thing go? 39.68 was the high, right? Look at that. Interesting. Since then, it's been a little heavy, right? Many altcoins look like this. And I've been warning about those altcoins fooling around at resistance levels while Bitcoin pushes highs. That is called relative weakness. It's a bad sign if you're just buying that altcoin thinking, oh, it'll play catch up. It'll play catch up. No, it's not going to play catch up. Once Bitcoin turns around the wrong way, this thing is going to sell faster. And I think Ethereum is caught in that situation right now. You're at a resistance, right? And it's coming off the resistance. That makes sense to me. So as far as what to do now, if you're in this from a low price, it would probably be a good idea because there's actually the bearish pin bar is in place. There's a sell signal in place. You have this inside bar developing now. Once this closes and the low is taken out, that will be another sell signal. So good place to lock in profits, if you have some from lower prices. If you just bought this thing, this is what requires adjustment. Taking with a small loss, tightening your stop. If you have a small profit, you take that and just reduce the risk because the risk is very high here. Where is a good place to buy Ethereum? Well, the first place would be around here. What price is that? Around 36.70. This thing's at 37.30. So around, basically, we can round that to 36.50, around that area right here. That would be your first area to consider. But keep in mind, Bitcoin has a lot of room to pull back. And if Bitcoin has some sort of pullback, you can see that support pretty much get cleared, right? Because you're right in the middle of this range at that point. So I would wait for better structure to develop, maybe like a little double bottom in this area, something like this, like around here. You also have this old resistance area right there. See that? What is that price? 31.60. You can round that to basically 3,000. Right? Or 31.50, something like that. Those would be ideal prices for Ethereum if it can deliver those prices over the next few weeks. That's what I would be looking for. You want price action to confirm that. You don't want to just step in front of those prices, but that would be your first step, okay? Looking for some sort of buying opportunity in this thing. I mean, do I think Ethereum is generally weak? No, I mean, Ethereum is generally strong, but you want to wait for support levels because as you can see, it can correct, all right? Even though it's strong, it can correct. Wait for a better price. This is just a high-risk location. All right, so thanks for asking about Ethereum. Let me jump over to the other chat. I hope people like my Larry David impression. Hi, thanks. What do you think about the possibility of a double top in Bitcoin? All right, so kind of like what Ethereum looks like there, right? Double top in Bitcoin. If you're referring to double top, meaning going all the way back to that original high back here, if that's what you're referring to, while that's possible, I would not make this reference. You know why? It's too far back. And you have to understand that when a lot of time goes by, there's this phenomenon. I have no way to prove it, but it's like you have different participants involved or something internally has changed. So that's why I wouldn't use that as the point of reference, right? Because the scenario or the current situation may have different drivers behind it compared to where we were 6 months ago. So is it possible to get a double top? Yes, but this would be your first high right here. And you'd have to see Bitcoin pull back and then give you a second high based on this structure. So the double top would have to occur over here, right? The double top would have to be relevant to this structure, not the one from 6 months ago. Does that make sense? So yeah, I agree, a double top is possible, but you have to wait for it to appear. Especially the mistake to avoid here is don't sit there and look at a 4-hour chart or a 30-minute chart and say, oh yeah, there's a double top on there. For a day trade, sure, but for a swing trade, no way, right? This little situation right here, this price action that you see right here, that's too small to be a double top. Yes, we can argue there's two tops there that are common, but not enough time has gone by. So that's just nothing but noise. So if that's what you mean by double top, then I wouldn't go by that either. Wait for price to significantly pull back a few thousand points, let it retest the 61K high, and that would be your double top on this magnitude. Okay, which again, it's a possibility. I wouldn't short it, by the way, though. I wouldn't. We don't short Bitcoin. But anyway, okay. Let me jump over. What do I have here? Hey, Mark. Hey, Malaysia. Okay, Pound New Zealand. All right, I'm getting some forex pairs. Let's see. NZD, another cross pair. Let me see what's going on here. And I don't have a lot more. I don't have a lot of questions on TradingView today. Are you people like? Is TradingView just slow today, or I just have no one watching on there? Let me know if you have any more questions. But that's okay because I got a million questions on the other chat here. So pound against dollar. Pound against New Zealand dollar. This chart, I mean, first of all, again, cross pair. Look how noisy this is. First of all, look at the gyrations all over the place, right? All over the place. Very hard to trade something like that. You have a lower high established here off of a minor support, whatever, which was broken relatively recently. So that means that if this lower high stays intact, you're likely to break this low, right? This low over here. What is that? What price is that? That's around 194-ish, something like that. So I certainly wouldn't be looking for longs at the support level because you have a lower high right behind you here, and it's more likely to make the lower low. So in a situation like this, I would wait for structure to improve. What you want to see, what I mean by that is you want to see something like this here. See this back here? See how it gave you like basically the failed low and double bottom? That's a change in structure because theoretically that should have went lower, but it went higher, right? It squeezed everyone out with this big green candle. So you want to see something like that. And as you can see, this took a number of days. This probably took about a week or two to develop. You want to see something like that before getting involved if you were thinking of long. If you're thinking short, well, your risk is a little high here because you are at a support and it can bounce. The thing with cross pairs is if the pound moves faster, like let's say that New Zealand and the pound are moving the same way. Let's say they're both moving higher, okay? But let's say the pound moves higher faster than the New Zealand. Lower faster than the New Zealand. This thing will go lower. It's confusing. I know it's confusing, but I would you're better off with like the pound itself, right? I mean, look at that. I mean, that's at an area right here where I wouldn't be going long the pound. It's near a resistance, but it's a tough short too because it doesn't want to. You have a higher low in place and blah blah blah. So this would be an aggressive short on something like this, right? That would be very aggressive because that can easily turn the wrong way on you. All right, just something to keep in mind. But basically, if this continues higher and, if the New Zealand, let's take a look at New Zealand dollar, right? NZD, USD. If the look at that, they're both going in the same direction. You see that? So if the New Zealand goes higher faster than the pound, that pair is going to go lower. All right, that's the way to look at that. So, it's interesting how when you see both base currencies are going higher, it's about which one is moving faster. Anyway, thanks for asking. I hope that clears up some of the confusion. All right, Peter. Hey, nice to see you, Peter. DOT. And again, I'm sorry I'm a little bit behind today, but I appreciate everyone's patience. Here's DOT, polka dot against the dollar. So, not surprising. these things, similar to Ethereum, you're fooling around at these resistance levels, right? Attractive place to sell. Now, let me just point something out. Recently, well, maybe about a week ago, right, DOT was looking pretty exciting while Bitcoin was working its way higher. And this lures a lot of people who have no idea what they're doing, because they're like, oh, yeah, it's strong now. Right, strong, right into a place where a lot of people are happy to give it to you, okay? People that bought it at much lower prices, right? Whoever was willing to take risk there, you better believe the smart ones know to unload to you. So not a good place for longs, definitely not. And as you can see, price action is confirming that. Now, what do you do now? Well, I hope you're not in it, but if you're not and you're waiting to get in, okay, you wait for supports. Your first support on DOT is around 35 and a half. The current price is 40. So this thing can pull back, actually 40.71. So this thing can pull back a good $5 before it becomes attractive, right? Before it's an interesting area. Even though that's the midpoint of this range, one advantage that you have in that situation is it broke out first, okay, which is fine, and then pull back, right? That's a great type of setup if the market can deliver it, because what occurs in terms of order flow is everyone gets long, people who have no business buying this thing, they get long, it turns on them, it looks bad over here, right? And then they go check back with their favorite fake gurus, and the fake gurus say, oh, I'm shorting this thing. They all banging it out, and now you're buying it at a support level where other smart buyers are buying. Okay, and that's what you want to wait for. That's what usually what happens in those situations. So you take advantage of the false breakout instead of getting caught in it, and you get a much better price, a much better reward risk as well. Now, price may continue lower, right? If Bitcoin breaks and Bitcoin pulls back and has a more significant pullback, a lot of these garbage coins are likely to test more significant supports, which would be here $25 or 25 half. That's still a possibility. Okay, so that's why, I do this analysis. You take note of these levels, and if the market takes a month to get there, hey, you should at least be prepared, or at least be interested in buying activity proving itself in the area. And once you can measure risk, at that point, that's when you decide, am I willing to take this risk? And that's really like how you get into something like Bitcoin, at a lower price type of thing. Here's Bitcoin. If Bitcoin pulls back, let's just say it pulls back to 50K, right? And it gives a buy signal there. You have to decide, once you measure the risk, am I willing to take that risk? If the answer is yes, and you lose, that was the risk that you were willing to take. That's a big part of this. Everyone, no, I want to make money. Right, but if you don't understand the risk, you're only going to make money randomly, and you're never going to come out ahead, right? And eventually quit. That's the cycle that people usually go through. All right, so anyway, that's DOT. Thanks for asking about DOT. Alex, do you think we're out of wave 4? So I mentioned that earlier. No, not yet. Sean, Clove, considering long calls today. Hey, Sean, hey, thanks for stopping by. It's always good to see you. So Clove, long calls. Here's the thing. Now, this isn't a consolidation, right? This is Clover Health, whatever, insurance, blah, 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 whatever it is that they do. And I understand the idea for the long calls, but here's what you have to understand. If this thing breaks out, yeah, you're going to have to buy a lot of time. At least you should be thinking a year out, because this thing can waste a lot of time. You're probably better off selling puts in something like this, because selling a put, you take advantage of all that wasting time. If the market breaks out, the put goes to zero, you keep your premium. But of course, if the market breaks out, you're not going to participate in the dollar for dollar move. But that's, so you can do something like that with it. The long calls, you're putting the market against you, because now you have time value decay that you're going to be dealing with. And when you go really far out, and you buy deep out of the money or something like that, and it's cheap, chances are, right, there is, at least not too long ago, there was a very high amount of theta decay in the further out of the money calls, right? That's been going on in these things, and I certainly felt that when I bought the when I bought, what do you call those things? The UVXY, whatever, the SVXY. I bought a bunch of puts on those, and that didn't work out very well. Okay, not puts, calls, and the time value just like evaporated, and I bought like a year out. Okay, but because the market took forever, the market just kept going higher and higher and higher. The theta decay was very was much more than usual. So that's what you have to be careful with those. That's what I'd say with that. So if you're going to do long calls, you probably should do in the money or at the money, probably in the money, and you need to buy yourself a lot of time, which means they're going to be more expensive. If the thing breaks out, great, you got it. And then you can participate basically almost at 1-to-1 with a long call. It's like being long the stock. Okay, but if you want to put probability more in your favor, I would think short put. And hey, if they deliver the stock to you as a short put, hey, you're getting the stock at a lower price anyway. I mean, this thing is only $7.89, so it's not like you're going to get stuck with a $300 stock. Anyway, so thanks for mentioning, Clove. Let me jump over to the other chat here again. Let me see. So Mazakara, yeah, I went over Ethereum, so thanks for asking. But now is this not working? Like, oh, Steve, not sure what you mean, Steve. That was 15 minutes ago. Maybe that's why no one's sending me questions on TradingView. Okay, but some people can hear me. Yeah, so Steve, not sure what's going on with that. Maybe you need to refresh the page. All right, let's see. M, thanks for your answer about the double top. You touched my point. Can you look at VET? Sure. Someone else was asking about VeChain. Normally you don't kind of follow. Okay, so I had a question. Yeah, HS was asking about VeChain. There he is. Hey, HS and Theta. So here, this other guy's asking about VeChain. Let's take a look. So VeChain. Now, this typically would follow Bitcoin, right? Similar patterns, but like many altcoins right now, these things are hesitating, right? Look at this. This is not what you should see when Bitcoin is making new highs. Okay, that's not what you should see. So that's relative weakness, which would be a concern for me. This also on VeChain is also a failed high. It went slightly higher. Now you get the red candle. If you take out the low of this candle tomorrow, that would be a new sell signal. So I certainly don't like it for new longs. Also, notice where this selling activity is unfolding, this congestion back here, which is a resistance, right? That's generally a resistance area. So there's a lot of reasons that support this thing going lower, right? At least temporarily. So I wouldn't be interested in new longs. This is a place to distribute if you have longs from lower prices. So where would the new long idea, where would it be attractive? Here's the support right in this area right here. And the market has been proving that. Look at the long tail dating back, like what, a month and a half ago. Look at the bounce off of that level here, just a week ago or whatever, a number of days ago. So you test that level again. What is that level? 12 cents, around there. Right now, that's your attractive support level for the moment. Does price give you a bullish pin bar there like it has previously? That would be an ideal long if you're interested in swing trading this thing. I'm not a big fan of this coin as far as swing trades go, but it's either that or you're looking back at this support level here, right? This old support at, what is that, 9 cents? That basically puts you back at like the 9 or 10 cent area. Those are your levels of interest, all right? Otherwise, this thing is likely to be consolidating and you're in the middle of it right here, just a messy area. So that's VeChain. Nothing to do here but distribute risk and wait for better prices. Now, also Theta, right? Talking about Theta Decay, let's talk about Theta. Theta Decay, all right? No pun, intention, whatever. All right, so here's a lower high and similar situation to VeChain. You're coming off of this congestion area. It's a resistance, clearly. You have a failed high right there, and now, worse than VeChain, you have a lower high established. Now keep something in mind. This is not a trend, right? So because it's not a trend, you're in a consolidation. I wouldn't call this bearish. I just say you're in the middle of a consolidation. And price is likely to test the low of this range. So similar to VeChain, right? It looks like a very similar pattern. And at that time, they were following Bitcoin because that's a very similar corrective structure that we saw in Bitcoin. That price is around 493. So basically like the 490s, maybe 495 area, maybe nearer the $5 area would be attractive for Theta. Theta right now is at, what is it, 583. So it's a good $2 pullback possibly from here. All right, so you're probably better off waiting for something like that if you're interested in a swing trade. As far as inventory goes, meaning longer term, there's really nothing to do here. These aren't really attractive prices to really add to it. But if you're not using a chart, when it comes to long term, a chart is not as important. You can just basically use timing, like, oh, the 1st of the month or the 15th of the month, no matter what price. It's your sizing that basically helps you manage the trade and keep your risk under control. So you can consider something like that. But the thing is, I don't like these coins for dollar cost averaging. I really don't, because they're so highly speculative that they're not ideal longer term investments. They're lottery tickets. They might work out in the long run. They might. But just like 20 years ago, no one was predicting Amazon was going to be such a successful company. Now it's a no-brainer. How did you not know that Amazon was blah, blah, blah? Well, at that time, Amazon was $5 a share. It had other competitors. It wasn't doing very well. And it was missing all those, all those innovations and things it came out with over the years. And no one was predicting that. All the experts, I work for Goldman Sachs and blah, blah, blah. No one. Okay, so it's the same deal here. You don't know which coins are going to be the big winners in the future. You don't know. So you have to assume that most of them are going to go nowhere. And if you're going to sit there and dollar cost average all your money into one, you better hope you got the lottery ticket, because there's no way to know. All right? So you want to throw some money into a bunch of them and maybe one of them goes, okay. But don't put like $100,000 of your savings. All I have is $100,000. You throw it all into one and you hope that's the lottery ticket. That's a really bad idea. All right, anyway, thanks for asking about VeChain and Theta. So let me jump over here to the other chat. Let me see what I got here. So Douglas. So Douglas, about not getting event reminders or whatever, you might want to just contact YouTube about that. Maybe they can help you. I purchased, thank you. Okay. Do you think it would be better for a newbie to read this now or to read something else first? Okay, Douglas, that's an interesting question. So I can't go into a lot of detail, with the ebook because, I'm on TradingView here. But one thing I'll mention is it's helpful if you're in this game for maybe 6 months to a year and you have some basic understanding, like what price patterns are, like if I talk about a double bottom, you should know what that is, right? If I talk about certain order types, like a sell stop order or a buy stop order, you should know what that is, right? Like stuff like that. Basic things. You should know what trend following is. You should know what a moving average is. If you know those basic things and you could basically get your way around a charting platform, and you've put on some trades and you know basically what the challenges are, and now you're looking to maybe get more of a perspective, then it would be appropriate. Otherwise, you just need to spend more time learning the basics, and there's plenty of free websites. I mean, there's all kinds of information everywhere on learning basics. What basics should you focus on? Price action basics. Things like being more familiar with candlestick patterns, being more familiar with chart patterns, classic chart patterns like double tops, double bottoms, that type of thing. Also, it's a good idea to learn Elliott Wave, because Elliott Wave is a forecasting method. And even though I would not suggest trying to trade on Elliott Wave, it can help give you some perspective in certain situations. It's also good to help you learn the idea of nested patterns, or what are called robust fractals, a pattern within a pattern. That's really helpful when it comes to evaluating price action on multiple time frames. Okay, so I can tell you that. Thanks for asking, by the way. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. And again, thank you for the support. Okay, so, all right, so I went over VeChain. Do you think Bitcoin is in wave 5? From Montreal. Hey, that's a good question. So do I think Bitcoin's in a wave 5? I've been calling this structure since we made this peak here. I've been basically speculating that we've been in a wave 4. So are we in a wave 5? It's too early to tell, right? It will confirm that we are if we clear 64K. At that point, we can argue, based on Elliott Wave, that we are in wave 5. Now, if that's the case, wave 5 can take this thing to, 80K. I mean, that's possible. 100K is possible. Will it take it there in a straight line? No. But the thing is, if we're in that broader wave 5 and we confirm it, I'd still be waiting for a pullback. I wouldn't buy the breakout and hope that wave 5 is going to be this big, long, powerful wave that just goes to 300,000 in 1 week, because that's not likely to happen. Although all your favorite fake gurus will probably be calling for such a thing. So to answer your question, it's possible that we are in a wave 5. What wave of wave 5? It's possible that we're in wave 3 of that 5, because this is clearly a wave 1, right? This is a wave 2. And this could be like the first leg of a broader wave 3. It's possible. Which, with wave 3 is usually never the shortest wave. It's usually a very powerful wave. And a wave 3 of a 5 can be, like this, pretty much like vertical. Right? Now, this thing has a little more ways to go to prove that, but it's possible. And if it confirms, then at least we have the roadmap. What should that tell you? If we are in a wave 5, that should tell you that shorting this thing would be an extremely bad idea, number one, and you're going to have people shorting it, especially if there's a little pullback or something, and you should be looking at supports. You can perhaps justify being more aggressive when certain types of buy signals show up, but you should definitely be leaning more toward the buy side if that's the case, and looking for information that supports longs, because shorting will be a really bad idea in that situation. Wave 5s can extend and all that kind of stuff, and you don't want to be caught on the wrong side of that. So thanks for asking. It's a good question. Thing with Elliott Wave is, it's very subjective. So you don't want to become opinionated by it. If this thing breaks, if it finds resistance here and pulls all the way back to the middle of the range, it's still wave 4. All right, in that situation. And it can fool around and go to the bottom of the range. And I know no one believes that's possible right now, especially if you read all the news and all the hype and all the other nonsense that's out there. But you have to be open to anything, and you have to look at the risk. So can this thing go back to the midpoint in the 50s or the high 40s? Yeah, it's possible. So be open to that. That's all I can say. Don't get stuck on an Elliott Wave opinion. You have to be able to adjust if the market gives an alternate count of some kind. All right, so thanks for asking about that. Alex, do you think that Bitcoin ETF, okay, now, so he's asking, do I think the Bitcoin ETF is priced in and we'll see a massive correction from here? I believe it's priced in. That's my personal opinion. It doesn't mean anything, but the thing is, it's buy the rumor, sell the news, right? I wrote that in my TradingView article, buy the rumor, sell the news, and people obviously been buying the rumor. Keep something in mind. When that ETF went on the schedule, right? You better believe the smart money knew about that light years in advance. So when it got to like the public schedule, oh, look, on this date, we're going to do this ETF, you better believe all the insiders knew about that and were buying it probably, during all of this corrective type of stuff when everyone was calling for shorts. And then they announced, oh, yeah, we're going to do an ETF on this date. All right, and then everyone starts buying it and the smart money's in. That kind of stuff goes on in this world. And there's no regulation against that, especially in this space. So, yeah, I believe it's priced in. I believe it's buy the rumor, sell the news. But do I believe it's going to go into a massive correction? No, I don't believe that. I just think a normal, healthy correction. The reason why I don't think it's a massive correction is because this structure this is not bearish, right, at all. So just because we're at a high doesn't mean we're going to have a massive pullback. A healthy pullback is 50K. So right now we're at 61. If we pull back 10,000 points, that's not massive. That's healthy. That's normal. I'd like to see that, right? Maybe we go to 53K or something. I don't know. But that would be a buying opportunity, in my opinion, if it can prove itself in the area. So to answer your question, no, I don't think we'll get a massive pullback. I think we'll get a proportional pullback after everyone realizes there's no one left to buy, right? And they lured in all the reactive retail money. All right, so thanks for asking. It's a good question. All right, let me see what else we got here. Thanks for your answer. Okay, okay, so, all right, so I don't see any other questions on TradingView. If you want to put some more questions in there, I have some more time, so you should take advantage of it. Let me go back to my other chat here. I got like a billion questions. All right, so Oleg, good to see you from the Ukraine. Okay, HS, yep, so I got your questions. Alex, what do you think about XRP? All right, so let's take a look at XRP USD. I was looking at this chart recently. You know, again, I saw some nonsense hype on YouTube. I saw a title on YouTube that said you could retire on XRP and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, not quite. So you have the lower high in place. Same situation as VeChain and the others. Consolidation or congestion area right here. Not a good place to be buying XRP. Just like the others, you want to see support levels, right? So on XRP, you have a support right here. The chart almost looks exactly the same as something like that VeChain or the DOT that we looked at or the Theta that we looked at. Dollar, basically a dollar or $1.01, right around there. You know, you're either looking at that or you're looking at this here, which is what? 80, basically just over 86, maybe 87 cents around there. That's what you're looking at for something like XRP if you're interested in longs. These aren't good prices here. Now, maybe XRP will consolidate and eventually break out. That's a possibility, but the relative weakness is concerning. I do like the general bullish structure, right? And you're just basically consolidating that, which is fine. So that kind of gives you a bullish bias, but I would wait for some more attractive prices. Again, something like XRP, I don't like swing trading these. They're too noisy. You're probably better off playing the inventory game, but like I said before, you should keep that very tightly controlled because these are lottery tickets, right? They're not high quality assets that you really want to be having big inventories on because you don't know which one is going to, you know, succeed. So that kind of thing. I don't care about their market cap. Everyone always has fundamental argument. Oh, but their market cap. Oh, but they're doing this. Oh, but they're doing that. None of that matters. Okay? All that logic and all that hype and all, none of it matters. Because at some point, you know, the coins that have true value are going to rise and all the money is going to come out of them and go into the ones that are showing promise or that are actually doing something. All right, right now it's all speculation. All right, just like the dot-coms were many, many years ago. All right, so good question. All right, so HS, I got that. Now, XRP BTC, you're better off using XRP USD because, again, BTC, this is not going to be a very helpful chart, to be honest with you. The reason is BTC right now is going higher at a very sharp rate, right, especially compared to something like XRP. So, of course, this chart is going to be depressed. So, you know, you want to buy XRP in terms of BTC, you're dealing with two unstable currencies. You're better off dealing with, you know, one stable currency like the dollar or Tether. Actually, I wouldn't call that stable, but anyway, the theory of Tether is supposed to be stable. Anyway, so yeah, you can't really, technical analysis is going to be harder to give you any kind of value on this chart because of that instability on something like Bitcoin. But, you know, technically there is a support there, okay? So you have that. But if Bitcoin continues rising at this rate, this thing will probably push that. Now, is Bitcoin going to continue at this rate? While anything is possible, you know, it's also likely to turn. But if XRP turns with Bitcoin and they're both going lower, right? But Bitcoin is going lower faster or whatever, you're going to run into the same problem with these. So really, stick to the dollar if you can. I don't know what else to tell you with something like this, but these aren't very reliable charts. I don't like them too much. Okay, so thanks for asking. Let me see. Do you think, okay, let me see here. Oh, I got a Spanish from Alejandro. Spanish. Let me see if I could read this because I can speak some Spanish. I want to learn trading. Teach me, thank you, or teach me for free because I don't have money. Okay. Oh, from Ecuador. Well, I can read that. Wow. I can actually read that in Spanish. Well, I can't teach you for free, but you can watch my streams for free. I can't speak back in Spanish. I can say no enseñarte para gratis, pero you can watch. How do you say it? You can puedes ver mi charts para gratis. How about that? Okay, this is not a Spanish lesson, but anyway, that's my Spanish today. It's my Spanish practice for today. Thanks for asking. Gracias for asking. All right, let me jump over to the other chat. Let me see what else we got here. So, just going back to the chat, going back. So Theta, okay, BTC. All right, so hey DJ, good to see you. Wow, I know he put that like a long time ago. Alex, BTCD goes. Okay, now, Alex, you mentioned that BTC dominance thing. I wouldn't go by that. Okay, it means big money only going to Bitcoin now. It doesn't mean anything. If it's obvious like that, it's old news, and it's just another layer of complexity that offers no advantage. So I would not let that get in the way of having an opinion on that. Not a good idea. Okay, Schwartz. Hey, Schwartz from Romania. He's my international man of mystery from Romania. Is he? I guess he's in Romania today, because you never know what part of the world he's going to be in. What do you think is a better investment? AR, USDT, or XRP for short-term and mid-term? Okay, that's a good question, Schwartz. Let's go back to AR, USDT. He's the James Bond. I call him Schwartz Bond. All right, so as far as an investment, all right, he's asking about AR. You're in the middle of the range here. General structure is generally bullish. Now let's compare that. What did you compare that to? AR and what was the other one? XRP. So we looked at XRP and they're in a similar situation, right? And here's XRP. So out of these two, I'm not familiar with AR at all. It's just as far as like what they do, but they're both in a similar situation. They have a higher low consolidation and you're sort of going toward the middle of it. So in my opinion, they're both the same type of trade. Okay, if we go back to AR, it's both the same type of trade, right? In fact, XRP has a little bit more room to go lower. It's not even in the middle of its range, while AR is, as you can see there. So for longer term, or like a mid-term type of trade, as long as you're managing your risk, if you want to try to play like a sort of an inventory type of game, but like a shorter term, I mean, at least you're not at the highs here, and your general structure is bullish. You're just in this consolidation. The thing is, you're going against the Bitcoin relative weakness. What happens if Bitcoin pulls back? So be prepared to buy lower prices if you're interested. What, 36.12 would be your range low on something like that? That would be the place to accumulate, maybe a little bit more. But if Bitcoin does something a little more dramatic, these things are in a position to break lower, right? You have to understand, like with Bitcoin doing what it's doing, these things should be better, which means money is not flowing into these things right now. Right, and that would be a concern. Something that's relatively strong should be at least looking similar to Bitcoin. So just something to keep in mind when it comes to the long term. And you can control your risk with how much money you want to invest in these things. Just be careful with that. That's all I'll say. Thanks for asking. Hey, Jesse from Poughkeepsie, how are you? Haven't seen you in a while. All right, hey DJ, Sean, strike price and date. Okay, he's asking about those options. Let me see what else we have here. M, can you look at ZIL? By the way, stream not working here. I'm watching on, oh, interesting. Okay. Maybe that's why no one's watching me on you know what, M? Maybe you need to refresh your page or something. Maybe that's what's going on there. You might have to refresh your page. What? Okay. But just, all right. Yeah. Try doing that. And let me know on TradingView. Let me know if the stream is not working for others. Is M the only one that the stream is not working? Please let me know if the stream is not working, or if it is working. If you could just put that in the chat. All right, so let's take a look at ZIL, ZIL, USDT. Let's take a look. So, all right, so this one, not even as compelling as some of those others, right? Here you are, you're in a consolidation, that's pretty clear. But it's not, here's another problem with this. So you had all this hype, right? Whatever, all this nonsense that was going on back here. Since then, right, you put in this corrective structure, which looks similar to Bitcoin. Now, since that time, it tried to rally, established a lower high, and it established another lower high. while this is not exactly a trend, right? We can't argue that it's a trend. It's a consolidation. So you might as well wait until you go to a range low, right? Your range low on this would be like over here. And it tested there not too long ago. What is this low over here? Basically 7.5 cents, something like that. That would probably be a much more attractive price because you're in the middle. You know what the problem with the middle is? It's highly random. Okay, your stream only works on YouTube. You know, all that work I put into TradingView here. Hold on. It says connecting. Maybe I need to start and restop the stream. Let me see if maybe I need to refresh the stream here. Okay, I'm going to try this again. Hold on again. Okay. Let me just try this again. I apologize. This is why I don't like to stream on TradingView. Okay, because it really like makes a mess of things here. I need to fix my streaming situation. Oh, now I got to do this again. What a mess. Okay, let me try that. Okay, so I don't know if that helps. All right, maybe that helps. My sound is going through. Okay, again, I apologize for that. I don't know how to fix that. All right, so that's my story for ZIL. Thanks for asking about ZIL. Let me know on TradingView if it's changed, if the stream is improved. All right, now back to YouTube here. Okay, regarding BTC, are we in a weekly Elliott Wave 5? When to short the monthly Wave 3 to 4? I would not short Bitcoin. Okay, definitely not. You know, 1 week, we can look at the 1 week. This is not a Wave 5 yet. It's still possibly a Wave 4 because Wave 5 needs to clear the high of Wave 3. We haven't done that yet. So it's possible that we do it, but this can easily be still a Wave 4, right? I mean, it looks like a possible corrective wave. Corrective waves usually have 3 legs. I see one leg here, I see a little corrective leg, and I see another leg here. That's 3 legs. So I wouldn't short this trying to go into the, you know, Wave 4 middle, or I would not short that because if this is a Wave 5, like I was saying before, this thing can just keep working its way higher and higher, and you don't want to get opinionated like that. That's why, you know, Elliott Wave is good for general like roadmap type of thinking, but I wouldn't take trades on it. You need to refine it further, especially when it comes to managing the risk. All right. Okay, no problem. Yeah. Okay. So back to Spanish. Yeah. See, okay. Okay. Para que carajo? I don't know. Oh, is that a bad word? Okay, I can't say that. I think that's a bad word. You want to teach? Yeah. No. So I'm not going to answer that in Spanish. It takes me too long to even think of the words. But anyway, thanks for stopping by. Jasko, the stream only works. Okay. So I think I got it back here on TradingView. Again, I apologize for the TradingView interruptions. Let me go back to the other stream here. So Shervin, hey, good to see you. Coffee. Seattle, please see Affirm stock. Coffee lover. Affirm. What is that? Affirm Holdings. Is that AFRM? All right, let's see. AFRM. Let's take a look. Oh, look at this stock. I mean, that's a nice looking chart. But I don't know if you're thinking about buying this, not a good time to be buying it. It's on the highs. These look like all-time highs. If this is the correct, you know, chart, if this is all the data that's available, it's at all-time highs. No way. Now, yes, the stock market's, you know, pushing higher, and this is acting relatively strong, but the risk is too high. Just like Bitcoin, the risk is too high. Where is risk measured on this thing? Well, you have 2 spots right now. You have this spot right here, which is 131, and then you have this spot over here, which is 109, basically 110. So I would wait, you know, it may take a week or two to pull back, or maybe slightly longer, but I wouldn't chase this thing, you know, unless you don't mind taking all that risk, or you want to take a small position and see if it continues. But these type of moves are not sustainable for long periods, right? You're more likely to get caught in something like this. So you have to look at what is more, you have to look at like the average outcome, not the unique outcome, not the low probability outcome. The average outcome is something like this. Okay. So you have to be careful of that. Wait for the supports. See if you get that. Otherwise, I would not touch that thing. Thank you for asking. This is certainly a good one for the radar. Okay. Let's see what else we got here. So thanks for asking, Affirm. Shervin, okay, no problem. From Vancouver, Canada, no problem. Hey, Douglas, what other chat is available besides the one on... Douglas, I don't have any other chat. I'm only simulcasting on TradingView and you know, and YouTube here. So that's all I have right now. Thank you for asking. And I'm probably not going to stream on TradingView again until I get like that ironed out, because it's a real problem, you know, and it doesn't really give a good quality experience, and it's very cumbersome for me to even get that going. Let me see. So Alex, EGLD. Oh no, hold on, Mr. Oh, I got a bunch of ones I skipped here. Hold on, Kim. Hey Kim, good to see you. Do you give some importance to triangles, wedges? Yeah. So Kim, basically, those are chart patterns, right? Wedge, triangle, blah blah blah. Often what you're describing is a continuation pattern. So yes, I do give them some importance, but it's going to be dependent on the context. I mean, if you think about it, an inside bar is usually a triangle on a smaller time frame. So they can be important pieces of information. I mean, let's see if I could find one. We just looked at a couple of charts with on the next. If I see a chart that comes up with one, you know, I'll point one out. But yeah, those are typically trend continuation patterns. Okay, they don't guarantee that the trend will continue, of course, but they can be a good they could be a good thing to add to the argument. All right, Janite, if BTC were to pull back to support, would you be expecting a double bottom reversal or a quicker higher low, single bottom? Okay, good question. Let's go back to Bitcoin. Right, so if it would pull back in this situation, you know what's going to depend? The answer is going to depend, Janite, on what kind of pullback we get. So if we get a sharp pullback like this, we get a sharp one that's very quick, you know, and we get like a 10,000 point pullback in a matter of a day or two, then I would look for the double bottom. I would require a double bottom like we got back here. I would require a setup like this back here, something like this, because that tells me that stability is back in the market. Now, if we get a really tight pullback, you know, we get like a normal, slow, we get like maybe a couple of larger candles, but it's not like 10,000 points over one night or two days or whatever, then a single candle would be more appropriate. Okay, does that make sense? I mean, so far up till now, all the retraces have been very tight, and single candles have basically been producing buy signals, right? Also, we haven't had any sharp pullbacks, as you can see. So that's how you should really gauge something like that. So it's really going to depend on the magnitude of the pullback. All right, so thank you for asking. Mr. Banian, can you please also check XAG and talk a bit about the connection with stocks and dollar? Okay, no problem. Hey, Mr. Bannon, thank you. So let's take a look at Oh, you're talking about silver, XAG, USD? Silver, right? Silver typically follows gold. Now, silver's another one of these highly manipulated metals, and there's always all kinds of hype and conspiracy theories, right? Ignore all that stuff. Let's look at the structure on silver. What do we see here? Lower high, okay? What do we see over here? Lower high. Is this a trend? On the short term, you can argue that's a trend, but on the larger picture, this is not a trend. You are in a gigantic range, similar to gold, right? The broader trend on silver is bullish. So in this situation, what this tells me is forget shorts on silver. I would not be shorting silver, just like gold is probably a bad idea to short too, unless you're day trading and you know what you're doing, right? You don't want to be exposed to the broader risk. So something like silver, I would look for the double bottom. This is a good example of looking for a double bottom. Something like this, right? Double bottom over here in this area, which is what? 22.5, or maybe you get the higher low. If you get the higher low, that could be a change in structure beginning. Now, of course, gold leads the way usually on something like silver. Usually doesn't do anything on its own unless there's very specific silver news, but that's not the case normally. So I would also be looking for a lead from gold and the dollar. So even if you get the double bottom or the higher low on silver, again, that's just looking at the chart itself. but you do have to consider the dollar, right? And you mentioned the dollar here and the dollar relationship. So the dollar will continue to put pressure on something like gold and silver if the dollar continues higher. The dollar is trying to change, all right? This is a potential change, failed high, but no supports have been taken out. So if this wants to continue this trend, silver, you're going to have to be careful. One good idea for silver is look for silver stocks or look for gold stocks, right? Gold stock, Wheaton Precious Metals. Look for these things. They tend to do a little bit better than the metal in advance of the metal because you have different variables that are driving the stock besides the metal alone, right? So maybe if you want to accumulate a position, a longer term position, consider a stock, maybe like Freeport McMoran, is it FCM or FCX? FCX, I think it is. Yeah, something like this. This responds to something like silver. Look at that breakout. And gold isn't even doing anything. Look at this general chart. So if you want to play gold or silver, you're probably better off in one of these things. Many of them pay dividends, so they're paying you to hold on to them rather than buying the CFD, which often charges you interest, right? A swap of some kind. So anyway, that's what I have to say about that. So when it comes to gold or silver or whatever, you can't look at the charts alone unless you're on a very small time frame. You do have to consider some of these macroeconomic variables because they can have an effect, right? Because gold is obviously, one of those type of metals, and same with silver, same with copper. You have to be careful with those on the longer time frames, right? Because there are other variables that can affect them, not just, it's going to be the perception of certain things, not just the actual supply of gold and blah, blah, blah. All right. So thank you for asking about that. And you also want the connection with stocks and the dollar. Well, so here's the thing. If dollar is going higher, right? And let's go to the stock market real quick. If the dollar is going higher, generally stocks don't like a stronger dollar, especially international companies, because that means their profits shrink across the world, right? So a stronger dollar is not exactly good for these companies. A weaker dollar is. On top of that, a stronger dollar implies rising interest rates, right? That's also a problem for a lot of these large companies that move a lot of, they handle a lot of debt, or they do a lot of financing to run their business or whatever. And so the cost of the dollar, it's going to cost them more to borrow money that's going to eat into their profit margins. Typically, that's the idea, right? So that's why generally a stronger dollar is not good. But keep something in mind. This is not a one-to-one relationship. This can take some time for it to play out, right? So I wouldn't make trades on that idea. If I see the stronger dollar, that just tells me to expect pressure in certain areas. And if we go into a rising rate environment, which the Fed has not confirmed, but if we go into something like that, you're probably going to see the market go into a range, like a broader consolidation. I wouldn't exactly expect a bear market, until certain variables come about. That's why you can't go from bull to bear. You have to realize markets can consolidate. And with the bull run that we've had in this market, thanks to all the stimulus and all the other government nonsense that we have in this country, you can't expect something like this to go from bull to bear in just, a couple of weeks or something, just because, the Fed says this or because blah, blah, blah. I would expect a consolidation for some time, right? Which doesn't mean you can't do anything. There's still things to do, especially if you're working with high quality investment grade stocks. So I hope that helps. So thanks for asking. Let me see what else we got here. So can you look at EGLD? All right, let's take a look. EGLD, is that eGold? EGLD, USD, USDT. All right, so eGold against Tether. Consolidation. You're near the range high, just like many of the other altcoins. Look at this. This is relative weakness. You see that? With Bitcoin as strong as it is, this thing should be doing better. It's not. So you have to be concerned with that. These are prices to distribute. These are prices to reduce risk. All right, current prices, if you're in from lower prices. Not a place to put on new risk. Now, the place to add risk, if you're interested, would be these lower prices, right? 171 area, this range low right here, that's a much more attractive area, right? Much more attractive for longs or buying, whether it's investment, whether it's swing trade. I mean, that's your range low. General trend on this thing is bullish. So You can't argue with that. But this is a consolidation. Now, and Kim, to answer what you were saying before about like wedges and triangles and all that, this entire formation, right, from this point, today's candle, going all the way back to here, I mean, you can basically draw converging trend lines on those highs and lows, and you have a triangle, right? So that triangle is typically a trend continuation pattern. The broader trend here is bullish. So if this can maintain that consolidation at some point, in theory, this thing should break out and make a higher high. Okay, just something to keep in mind. How that information is helpful is, for one, it should prevent you from shorting these things, right? Just because you can say, oh, well, look, there's a double top and a lower high, and this thing's going to go lower, that means nothing when you're in a consolidation. This is not a bearish trend, all right? Just something to keep in mind. That's where the information is most helpful. So thanks for asking. Oh, I got some more people watching me on TradingView, I guess because I fixed the stream. Okay. Let me see. So that's eGold. Edward, any thoughts on oil? Oil, good question. USD WTI. Yes, I've been watching oil. Here's my first thought on oil. It's ridiculous. Now, oil is a highly political market, right? It's very political. It's moved by a lot of geopolitical type of stuff and this and that. So you have to be careful with oil. There's a bearish pin bar, as you can see, in place right now. So not a good place to be buying oil. What a nice move, though, off of this low, right? So great place to sell oil, lock in profits, not short. This would be it's too aggressive to short something like this, because just because there's a bearish pin bar doesn't guarantee you're going to get a pullback, right? So the right thing to do here, the more effective thing to do, wait for retrace, okay? Wait for retrace. This is your location for potential long in oil. That's around, what, 78, 62? That's not too far away. What is it, 82? About $4 or whatever. I guess that would be a big move for oil, but that would be your area of interest, right? Those higher to mid 70s, and looking for longs there. That would give you a nice broad higher low if it could establish support there. All right. Now, some people may say, well, I'm going to short that and blah, blah, blah. It's very risky because there's no guarantee it will go there. You may get a tight higher low, and then this thing reverses and goes higher. Keep in mind, this thing has been doing this in the face of a strong dollar. Theoretically, this thing should not be doing this with the dollar, so strong. This thing should be bearish. But like I said, you have other variables driving this thing, whether it's supply chain nonsense, drama that they keep coming up with, or, all that other stuff, right? Point is, it's strong. Don't fight it. Look for supports. And this obviously stocks that benefit from oil. I mean, look at VLO, right? Look at MPC. They're all strong. Look, all pushing their highs. So if you don't want to buy oil outright, consider an energy stock, but you don't want to buy them at their highs, right? Here's Exxon. Let them pull back. Let oil pull back, and then consider these. Just like gold and silver, the mining stocks, these stocks also give you an incentive to hold them, and many of them are high-quality companies. They're not garbage altcoins or penny stocks, okay? So just something to keep in mind. Thank you for asking about oil. Oil is certainly a strategic market and can be affected by other things. So thanks for asking. Let me see what else we got here. I'm going to try to get through as many as I can. If I miss your question, I apologize. Alp, from London, welcome. Can you please look at Matic? All right, and Cody. I haven't seen Matic in a while. Let's take a look. We are watching on you. Okay. Susan, thank you for mentioning that. From south of France. It must be nice over there. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I'm running through the questions here real quick. Okay. Okay. All right, so let's go to Matic USD. All right, so yeah, TradingView people. Yeah, okay. I see it should still be working there. All right, Matic. These coins, as we see, look, resistance. Right, that's the first thing I see, resistance. So I know right off the bat, not buying it, not interested here. I want to see supports, right? And obviously people have asked about Matic not too long ago. Look at my support lines. These were drawn on the chart before I pulled this up. You see that? See these two lines? So obviously people have asked about them before. That hasn't changed. So the support lines are $1.24 basically. And you're looking at like this lower area right here, which is what? What is this low? 92 cents. This range, this area, that's really your ideal area for a long in Matic if you're interested in something like this, because right now you're just consolidating. And while this eventually can break out, it might be dependent on some specific news, whatever, which a chart is not going to help you determine. So I think it's best to wait for just more attractive prices. Now, let me give you an example of something here. What if, you listen to me, okay, I'm not going to buy it, I'm not going to buy it, I'm going to wait. It never pulls back here. Some dumb news comes out, right? There's people in some stupid chat room and some fake guru starts pumping it and it does that. Okay, you get a long vertical candle because all these people start piling into it. What do you do in that situation? Well, in that, we see this across many altcoins, happens all the time. What do you do here? Do you just let it go? Well, that's where you have to decide how much risk are you willing to take, right? That breakout might go somewhere, it might, but it also might do what the other breakouts do and fail, right? It may just turn right back around. So in those breakout situations, again, that's what requires decision-making skill. You need to be able to have your plan in advance, because if the breakout fails right away, you need to make an adjustment, right? So breakouts, while they're not my style, they are a valid strategy. You just have to understand what can go wrong. You have to be willing to take the risk, and you have to be willing to take a small loss or a quick loss or maybe a small gain if the market shows you something that it should not be showing you if the momentum is going to continue. If you find all that confusing, what I just said, then you probably shouldn't do it at all. And the reason is, if the market does not follow through, now you get caught, you go into hope mode, and now the thing gets cut in half, it gives back 50%, and now you're stuck in it, right? And you want to avoid being at the mercy of the market. You want to avoid those situations. Often, you're better off doing nothing. All right. People give me a hard time about doing nothing. They hate it. But it doesn't cost you anything, and it's easy to do. Let me see what I got. So, Susan, is Bitcoin decoupling from the trade markets? It pumped when trade markets. Okay, I'm not sure what you mean by TRAD. I'm not sure what that is. Trad markets. I don't follow that, so I can't answer that question. Okay. Okay. Can't touch. Okay. Affirm. IMD saying long term. Okay. So here's the thing. I got to wrap this up now. If I missed your question, I apologize. From Greece, could you comment on VRA? Okay. No. You know what, Elias, join me on my next stream. I'm sorry. I got to wrap this up. I really appreciate everyone's questions. NMR. Yeah, I see a bunch of questions here, but I have to go. So. Again, the point, look, I just want to leave you with this. Don't get caught up in all this hype and all this nonsense. When a market just wants to go and refuses to pull back, just be patient. It will pull back. Markets cannot sustain this type of move, although it may take, Bitcoin takes like weeks at a time to make a change, but it's not about that. It's about the risk. And if you're willing to take the risk and you're willing to deal with what goes wrong and you're willing to deal with the loss that is likely to follow, then go for it, right? But if you don't like that idea or you don't know what to do, maybe you're relatively new, then it's better, it's more effective to just wait. Because, if the market wants to run away without you, at some point it's going to find a peak. At some point it will deliver a reasonable pullback and give you an opportunity that the risk can be justified, okay? And with a potential reward. Those situations are rare. They're not common. They're not as common as everyone would like. So making money in this game, which is, I know this is what we all want to do, but it requires a lot of waiting and having specific rules. And the smaller the time frame that you're operating on, the stricter and more disciplined and the more I guess strict would be the word, you have to be with your rules, because the smaller time frames are more random. And people don't realize what that means. But price is going to do all these things. It's going to look like one thing, and then the next day it's going to be doing something else. And you're like, I don't understand. So what do? You grasp for the news, and you grasp at pieces of information that will not help you. All your information is on the chart. You just have to understand what the limitations are. You have to understand what's reasonable, what's not reasonable, and then you have to be able to adjust. And the smaller the time frame, the harder it is. Okay, so that's why I tell people, don't day trade. Stick with, swing trade is easier. It's not easy, but it's easier than day trade. And investing is the easier of all of them, but it also requires the most waiting. All right, or like I said, you can take your small bites, but you have to understand what you're dealing with. People get impatient with the small bites because, like, well, it goes my way. I don't make any money. Right, but when it doesn't go your way, and if it doesn't go your way in a big way, you're also protected as far as the risk. You're not going to be stuck in a position where now you're caught and you watch your $10,000 investment get cut in half in a couple of hours, right? That's not the position you want to be in. So it's you have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right mentality. Depending each type of trade strategy has its own mindset. Okay, if you're a day trader, that's one type of mindset and risk tolerance. Swing trade, similar mindset, different risk tolerance. Investment, different mindset, different risk management, because your risk is at the greatest magnitude on that time frame, right? Because you're in the market most of the time, and if there's a really big move against you, you're in it, right? As a day trader, that's one advantage to being a day trader, is you can cut that risk if you know what you're doing. So anyway, all right, so I'm going to leave you with that. Again, if you have any other questions, save them for my next stream. I don't know if I'm going to do with this with TradingView again. It was such a mess. I may do it. I don't know. I have to see if I could fix the problems that I have with it. Or maybe what I'll do is I'll alternate until I can get that working properly. So again, I appreciate everyone's participation and the feedback and letting me know if it's working or not. Thank you again for your questions. All right, so everyone else, wherever you are in the world, thank you so much for your participation and great questions and your patience. And I hope you like my impressions and all that other stuff. I hope you get something out of the stream. And I really appreciate everyone spending some time with me here when I do these. All right, so enjoy the rest of your day, the rest of the evening, wherever you are in the world. And thank you so much for watching.